Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Please set your screen to speaker view on the top right-hand corner. You will shortly hear from our host and Chief Executive, Gemma Greaves.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. It's my absolute pleasure to bring you the 6th in our series of Keep Calm. As many of you will know who've been loyal followers of this series since the beginning, since we started being at home, we've had the opportunity to get creative, to get inspired, to get really resilient, to take pause. And today we plan to innovate, which is really exciting. And I will introduce our speaker in just a second. As you know, this series has been designed to pivot and reframe the opportunities that we have, and to come together as a community. And what has been so brilliant about these last couple of months is it's allowed us to truly connect as a global community, more than ever before. So through that darkness that we've all had, there has been some light, which has been brilliant. And I know that lots of you have appreciated that, which is really wonderful. So what I want to do is find out where people are dialing in from, as always, because it's lovely to see all the different people around the world, and also how you're feeling at the moment in one word. So it also gives us a chance to use the chat function, which we'll be using throughout the session. The way it's going to work is obviously chat through the chat function, any specific questions put into the Q&A, and at the end of the session I will come back on and give Orit, our speaker, who I'm about to introduce, the chance to answer any questions you might have. So that will be at the end of the session. So for now, let me know how you're all feeling. Usually there's more chat by now, unless mine isn't working. Pensive and hungry. Understand that. Just had lunch, so I'm not hungry personally. Excited, we love that. And where are people coming in from? Reading, Dubai, brilliant. Restless, I can relate to that, Nikki. Intrigued, always intrigued. Oh, our chair there, feeling good, always positive. Love to see that, Mr. Ingalls. Ready, brilliant. Well, I'm actually feeling really excited because this is a session like no other. You might have seen Orit Wolf at our annual conference back in, I think it was 2014, and then she was so brilliant we brought her back for our gala dinner in 2018, and she absolutely wowed the crowd. That rhymes. That wasn't meant to rhyme, but maybe that's just me. There we go. So she helped us reset back then. She helped inspire us back then as well. But those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Orit, she is a world-class pianist and composer, who has a very unconventional way of bringing her music performance to life through getting us all to challenge our thinking about leadership, creativity, and disruption, and of course innovation. And she really encourages us, and she fits so brilliantly in with our brave agenda around being brave, taking risks, improvising, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. So this is a really special one, and it's a special one for me personally because it's one of my last ones as chief executive, so I couldn't have a better person to be joining us, and she's become a friend over the years, which is really lovely. So this is going to be an incredible inspiration and an uplifting session. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the incredible Orit Wolf. Come and join us.
Hi Gemma.
Hello.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful welcome. This is a very special introduction, Gemma. And I'm really, really happy and pleased and feel honored to be here with you. I'm willing to take Gemma with me everywhere in the world to present me in such a beautiful way. And hi from Israel, from Caesarea. Caesarea is just between Tel Aviv and Haifa. And I'm welcoming you to my studio at home, next to my 2 grand pianos here. And this session is, as Gemma said, is a bit different because I'd love to bring you some of my 2 worlds, the world of the music and the world of innovation and bravery and all the idea of how we can make a change and leave a personal mark in this new jungle of post-corona times. I have to say, I really miss coming to London. It's many, many months I couldn't travel now, and I teach at the Royal Academy in London. So for me, it's a big challenge just to stay here home for so many months and not coming to see you. And some very special names I see here that I'm very keen to see again. But I'd love just to start with some music, so you can watch my hands. And I thought there's nothing like Chopin, which I love the most, to start that session together. So I'm going to play you the Waltz by Chopin, number 7, in C sharp minor. Just the beginning of it. Great. So I love Chopin. Just a quick note why I chose him. I don't know if you know, but Chopin, who lived 200 years ago, he did not want to shake hands with people. He wasn't allowed to shake hands. He was so afraid of germs. And everybody who wanted to shake hands, he said, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I love humanity, and I love a little bit less people. It's an awful saying, but we always used to say Chopin is not a politically correct figure, and we still have that intimate music, which is very caressing and very loving and very passionate, but he didn't really connect to people. He connected more to music and passion through the sounds. And I think what we have today is really the power of sounds, because we all are in a terrible disruptive mode. We can't correct the disruptions. It's an era of disruption. It's a time of jungle. And what I'd love to talk with you today and share, it's not really talk, it's like converse and share with you, is my own feeling and expressions of what happened to me, because I'm used to go on stage, I used to go take a plane and go give lectures and do workshops on innovation, and I can't go anywhere in the world now. I can't go on stage, I can't play my piano in front of 500 people, I'm stuck at home. And I had to learn to adapt. And what I'd love to do in this 40 minutes that we have together is really to talk about what are the 7 habits of people who leave a mark. How can we really sustain and maintain the attributes and the habits of 7 ones that really present people who leave a strong personal mark? And I also would love to talk with you about the different trends that are actually evolving now in the last 3 months that we all have to notice. We know them, but we don't yet verbalize it. So I'd love to verbalize it more and play it together. So before I begin, I want to start with a sentence that I hear a lot over the last couple of months now. People say, you must reinvent yourself. Everyone, we hear it in the YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Let's reinvent ourselves in such a disruptive era of Corona time. And I actually do not like that sentence, reinvent yourself, because if you have to invent yourself again, where were you until now? Where was your personal mark? If you have to do everything from the beginning, what it means about what you had until now. So for me, it's not about reinventing ourselves, but rather finding the new outlook of the situation, the new angle, the new platform to market ourselves, to present our capabilities, not really inventing ourselves. And I'd love to share with you something about what happened to me about more than 20 years ago when I came to London, my favorite city in the world, really. I now teach at the Royal Academy, but when I came to study at the Royal Academy of Music, something disruptive happened there that really changed my life, and I really take it to understanding an insight of nowadays that I want to share with you, because it's not about music this time. The music is just a metaphor for us to understand how can we cope with such a real mess that everybody is really facing nowadays. So when I came, I remember this, I was asked to play the Moonlight Sonata, and I prepared it so well. And I come to the piano, I played this. I see that you can't see my hands so well, so I'd love you to see my hands better. And here I am, starting the Moonlight Sonata that everybody knows so well. And it's so beautifully caressing and delicate music and quiet. And all of a sudden the judge is asking me, Orit, could you please do me a favor? Could you play it loud and fast? And I'm thinking to myself, what loud and fast? It's such a music. It's so tender and so soft and slow. How can I play it fast and loud? And I found myself not asking questions and realizing that they actually examining my ability to improvise, my ability to reinvent myself in the better sense. And I find myself doing that. So I'm playing that and I'm a little bit shocked. And then I said, thank you, Orit. Could you please play it without your chair, without your piano chair? And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on? You know, I can't play without a chair. I need some support. I need to use my legs and pedals. But, you know, disruptions are disruptions. And here I am finding myself getting up, moving my chair, and playing it again fast and loud while I'm standing up. Then they said to me, thank you very much, you can sit back, you can relax again. And I thought this is all over, and I was wrong. Because exactly when I thought they finished with me, they said, could you please play the same thing again, but swapping hands. Swap hands, this is crazy. Imagine right hand is doing the left hand is doing the right hand. It's really difficult for the brain. By the way, it's a great exercise for the brain. In general, in terms of creativity, to actually do things in the other hand that you're not quite used to. And I find myself, and I would like to show it through the hands, I find myself doing this. And this is difficult. And so forth. So when I finished the audition and I got in, I realized something very striking. That the audition was not just about finding the next musician. The audition was about finding real artists. And I want to explain to you, this is so strong, because it's really about finding people with agility to adjust to restrained and difficult situations. They didn't want just to hear me playing beautifully. They wanted to hear me coping with the now, coping with change, coping with disruptions. And they created artificial disruptions. And I had to see how I do it. And it's not so simple. So I can have a whole session about improvisation through disruptions, because to be a concert pianist, the hardest fear for a pianist, and I'd love for you to chat with me here, what do you think is the hardest fear that happens when you go on stage? I'd love to see your chats, because I only see names and I don't see your faces, and I really need that feedback. So what I'd love to see is, what do you think is the hardest fear? I can't see anything yet coming. Needless. Oh, this is a good one. Yes, needing the toilet. This is a very strong one, actually. I never heard that one. Yeah. Wow, I love it. Failure. Good. Yes. Wow, I love what you write. I'm so happy we have that possibility to watch all those notes. Forgetting my part. Yes, exactly. Perfect. All of the above, by the way. It's all of the above. And really, the hardest fear is to have a blackout, to actually forget the notes. And it happens. Believe me, it happens. And the question is not how to prevent it, but rather how to cope when it happens. And that's the training that I've been doing all my life, because I realize it's not about avoiding mistakes in life. Mistakes will happen, failures will happen, disruptions will happen. What we really need to adjust is to have the tools and the set of mind to actually cope with disruptions without fears. So this is what I'm really dedicating my life, not just in music, but in every other profession. And my passion and mission in life is really to go to lots of different companies and really teach people how to bring the next thing, how to anticipate the next trend, how to innovate without fears, how to get and step out of the paradigms and challenge ourselves. But right now, I'd love to share with you another thing that is very interesting. Just before the corona just started all over the world 3 months ago, the Bank of England, which is not just a bank, it's also a very prominent research institute, has just published a research that 40%, please write it down because it's quite shocking, 40% of the 500 Fortune companies, the companies that are in 500 in the stock market, will not be existing in a decade. Meaning in 10 years' time, 40% of the companies that we think that are the best, the highest, the greatest, will not be there, will not be listed. And the question is how come and why? And I think we know why by now, but it's really, really about the idea that people are going to realize that trends are changing, customers' needs are changing, and it's really about anticipating the next level, the next trend as soon as possible before others. And I'd love to say something that is really the whole thing of my lecture today. It's really the companies that are going to survive after the corona time are not going to be the companies that are selling products or services. I repeat, it's quite scary. It's not just the companies who are going to sell products or services. The companies that are going to survive, also individuals, by the way, because lots of people here in the marketing society are not just representing companies, but you're also great individuals that leave a mark every day wherever you go. The ones who are going to survive are going to be the ones who are going to bring and sell their values. To bring and sell their values. How you sell your value? By knowing your personal or organizational mark. If you're so aware of your personal mark, you can really bring a value to others. And if you think about great companies that you admire or that really succeeded in the world, you realize that they don't just place their product and services first, but it actually comes from something more inner, from a real core value that they believe in. So it's really not about what you do, it's about why you do it. And I'll tell you soon about one company that you all know and we all connect to it. But just before I give it, I want to show you that often people come and I ask them, can you tell me more about yourself? When you get an interview for a job or when you meet somebody new and you want to know more about them and you say, can you tell me about yourself? And most people are falling into this trap of telling about what they do or what they did. So we're falling into the trap of actually talking about the what, about our jobs, about our experience. We're very good in talking about experience and jobs, but we are less good in sharing and speaking and conversing about not just what we are, but who we are, how we are, and why we are. So there are actually 4 questions that must be remembered. It's who we are, which is all the personal surrounding of our living. You know, the first thing I've done is today is sharing where I'm sitting. And, you know, and I will sure send some more notes about my own personal life, because I think this time, in the corona times, you can't really separate personal and professional lives. And we'll see this is one of the mega trends nowadays, no separation between personal and professional nowadays. It's everything is really mixed. So who am I? What am I? We know. How am I? What are my behaviors or set of skills that is very characteristic of me? Am I very open and passionate and outgoing? Or maybe I'm cynical, maybe I'm more introverted person. What is the how? What is the real character that I convey when I do what I do? And then why we are. Why do I do what I do? And I think this is the main question that everyone here with us today have to ask himself or herself. Why am I doing what am I doing? Why? What is the mission and the vision and the set of mind that I do what I do? Do I just go to companies because I want to make more money? Do I want to make sure that people will take something for life? What it is that makes me more meaningful in what I do? And I think this is a century of meaningful moments, not just doing. It's about the being and the doing together. So what I'd love to do today is actually to give 7 characteristics of those who leave a mark. And then we'll talk about 7 different trends that are very hot nowadays. But let's hear a little bit more of some music, because I love this combination. And I will play you another waltz by Chopin. It's really dedicated today to Chopin. And the reason I love to play this music is because this is a music that Chopin dedicated to a very famous countess, Delphine Potocka. And she was in love with Chopin, and she offered him to marry her. She offered him to marry her 200 years ago in Paris. And he refused. He said, I'm sorry, no. But in order not to let her down so badly, he said, could I at least dedicate a waltz to you? And this waltz that you will hear is a dedication of a refusal for marriage. I really wish to see you all. And I was thinking that in English we say to see a concert, not to hear a concert. And there is so much truth in that expression, to see a concert, because when you see a concert, you actually connect with the eyes, with the energy to the people next to you. And I really miss it. So thank you so much for writing. Wow, this is so nice. I really love to see your chats, because it really moves me. And I need you, not less than you see me, I really need you too. So what I'd love to do with you now is actually to talk about the 7 habits of how to leave a mark. And I think you all know it and you all have it, otherwise you wouldn't be engaged in the marketing society, because each one of you here is a guru and a real expert. But I'd love to actually verbalize it, because it's really set your mind in so many different ways. And I want to start with number 1. The number 1 that creates a great personal mark is our knowledge. You need to know your knowledge. And by the way, knowledge today is the next passive money of the world. I want to explain to you. We used to think that time means money. Time equals money. And it's not true anymore. Knowledge equals money, because nowadays with the Zoom, we can record so much of our lectures and so much of our innovation workshops or anything you do, and we can actually sell it, and we can create new money, passive money, through these recordings. So really knowledge is something very powerful, but we all have that power. This is the easiest part. Number 2 is your expertise. What are you expert on? Each one has a niche. Each one has a special subject that is number 1 in it. So we all have to know it so well. Number 3 is our experience. We all have certain experience that is very unique to us. Number 4 is our reputation. What is the reputation that we have? Do we have the same reputation as we think we do? Is there any gap between what we think people are thinking of us and what we are actually? It's very, very interesting, the differentiation. And now the number 5 is our behavior. What is my behavior when I give my services, when I work, when I go out of work? What is the set of behaviors that I bring in? As I mentioned before, am I cynical? Am I generous? Am I quick? Am I slow? Am I stingy? Am I positive? Am I negative? There's so many signs of behavior that actually create my talent and my personality when I transfer my knowledge. So we had knowledge, expertise, experience, reputation, behavior. Now the number 6 is actually communication skills. And this is very interesting. It's not just, do you have good communication skills? Not just that, but it's actually what type of communication skill you often choose to communicate with. And does it actually reflect and suit the situation that you're in? So some people always like just to write emails, to write letters, to write text messages. And some people love just to talk over the phone. And some people love to meet you one-on-one. So what is your default communication skill that is very much characteristic of yourself? And number 7, which I love the most, is really about the passion and the vision. People who don't have the passion and the vision, they're not in the business of leaving a personal mark. Because when you have the passion, you really have the why. The passion and the vision are the why that we talked before, not just what I do, but why I do what I do. And I love this because I remember that once my teacher in London said to me one question. He said, how much are you willing to pay to do what you do? And I remember looked at him and thinking to myself, what is he talking about? I want to go to a concert and earn some. And he said, no, listen, you didn't get me. He said, I want you to think, how much money would you put on that specific work that you're going to do? And if you're willing to put something, it means that you really deserve it, that you're really doing the best out of your love, that you're doing what you love and what you're passionate of. So I don't mean that you have to start paying for your job, but if you can say that even once a month you're doing something out of passion and love and that you're willing to pay for such an experience that you've got, that's something very special. And that shows me people with special mark. By the way, I think that the taboo today, and I say something quite provocative, people think that sex is taboo. I don't think sex is taboo. I think that money is taboo. I think that people are afraid to speak about money. They're afraid to speak about what are the real amount that they're supposed to earn and how much they earn and how much they should be getting. And they're very scared to ask for what they deserve. And I always say to people, don't be afraid. If somebody asks you, how much you're taking for a lecture? I never say I take. I take is not something of my language even. I always say the lecture costs such and such. I will never say something about I. And also, I think that we don't have to think about selling, an hour or a lecture. We're selling something much bigger. We're selling something that is involving more of inspiration and uniqueness. And I think you're the best out of it. I mean, everyone who sits next to me and listen to me, I think that you're much, much better in those things. But I want you to just remember that don't be shy. Don't be shy to ask for what you deserve, because people who leave a mark are really those who feel that they deserve to win. They deserve to do what they do. I once wondered, why didn't I win competitions? For many years, I went to all those competitions. I always won 3rd prize, 4th prize. I didn't get the 1st prize. And the moment I realized that I deserve to win 1st prize, I started to win 1st prize. Before I didn't. And nobody tells you about the list of failures that you have. Everybody talks just about the successes. But I can tell you the amount of failures I had and the amount of competitions I failed and didn't win is much farther, much greater, much bigger than the ones I did. But nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about failures. But the reason I say this, because the ones who are really successful are the ones who believe that they deserve to get and to be number one, to get the job, to be number one, to succeed, to earn that amount that they want. It's really about feeling deserved. Now, from here, I'd love to take you for the 7 trends, and I hope we manage to do as much as possible, but as much as we can do, I'd love to share with you the 7 trends that I find so hot nowadays, and that you feel them. I don't have to teach you anything. By the way, I don't believe in teaching. I believe in conversing, and I believe in educing. The verb is really to educe, is actually to bring out something that you already know and feel out. I love that word, to educe. So, number 1, are you ready? I'd love to see your trust. Are you ready with me? Because I can't see you. Good. Good. So number one of the trends, because if we understand the trends, we will understand the values, because the trends are really the values. People ask me, how can I sell a value if I don't understand what's going on around me? So I promise to give you an example of a company that you all know that is really not selling just a product, but selling a why, selling a vision, selling a real inner meaning. And you all know that. Apple, for example. Apple doesn't market and sell their products in a way that we all regular to. It's really about making people want it, not selling anything to others, but make people want and need my services. And I think if you also take TED Talks, you all know TED Talks, and I remember that when I did my TED Talk 2 years ago, one of the things that I realized how the system works and why they're so successful. It's not just because they do good lectures on any subject in the world. It's really because they have a different how and a different why. This is interesting. Different how and different why. It's really, the how is different because they ask you to do lectures up to 18 minutes exactly. So if you're preparing a lecture 22 minutes, it doesn't work. They tell you start over. They're really very punctual, and they want to say, we're giving a very concise lectures on any good subject. It's very apparent and important to anyone else, but it will be very communicative, and it will be very short, and it will be by the best lecturers that we can find from all over the world. And they have a real why. They really have a vision of bringing the best in a very short, concise time. And people have to be so ready that you can't just say, oh, I'm used to give lectures all day around and I can just go on the stage and start speaking. No, they have very, very clear rules of how you begin and how you end and what you're going to say and what is the action inside your talk. It's a whole Bible that you have to learn, and it's quite fascinating that it's so well thought before. So I think that if each one of us is really thinking about the why, and also there's a great way to see and realize what is your company all about. And I often do it when I go to a new company. I don't ask people, what do you think about the place you're working at? Because this is a stupid question. What I love to do is give people lots of crayons and A4 pages and ask them to actually draw the persona behind the company they're working at. So I actually want them to think the company as either a woman or a man. And I ask them to be non-politically correct and actually to draw the persona behind the organization. And I ask them to be really not politically correct. Really, I ask them, is this person is a woman or a man? Is he fat or slim? Is he smiling or too serious? Is he conservative? Is he cynical? Is he married or not? Really think about it out of the box, and the amount of information that you get, either by drawing, or even if people can't draw, they write. They write the name, they write where they live, they write not themselves, but actually the company that they personalize the company as a human being. It's such a beautiful, innovative way to get so much information and so much understanding of the vision and the character and the persona and the what of that company. So you can try it and do it yourself. There's so much that I love to do with you, but this is a great way to gain information, not through the regular ways. So before we continue, I want to give you really the trends that are very strong nowadays. Number one trend is that we lose our privacy more and more. Privacy is dead. We knew that. Even in London, everywhere you go, you have those cameras that looking at you every moment. But even now, look at this. You are entering my house. How many opportunities would it be in 2 years' time to enter my house? So we all in the same boat. We're feeling the privacy is gone. We see the kids in the background, the husband's in the background, and what does she have in her house, and how is she looking, and what kind of background and art does she have on the walls. So we gain so much new information by non-privacy. And we can't be afraid of this anymore. We have to jump into this new water of no privacy. So, and I want to tell you something that I actually do tomorrow, Zoom, with somebody from Scotland. It's called Conversation from Your Kitchen Table. It's not about food. It's just about sitting in the kitchen and watching each one's kitchen and talking business. while you're allowed to eat and drink. The concept is fantastic. I love it. It's different. So the second trend is really simplicity. I think that it's not just about non-privacy, it's about simplicity. We all want now just simplicity. We don't want something too sophisticated and too complex. We want to go back to the raw experience. I love that sentence, the raw experience, because this is about music. When you play, you can actually see the raw personality of the person who is playing to you. Because if I go to the piano and just improvise, I swear I don't know what I did here because I just came to the piano and felt the energy and just played. I don't know what I did here. And it's something very nice because it's really about the raw experience. I don't plan, I don't cheat, I don't sell anything. I just really bring you the values of authenticity, of raw experience, of feelings. And I really know that my mission in life is to touch people's minds and souls. That's why I came to the world. I really feel it inside me. So it's really about understanding your inner goal and conveying it in a very smooth way. And each one of you can do it. It's not because I'm playing. Just the playing is another tool that I have to show you my love. But you have other tools which I don't have. So it's really about stopping for a second and thinking, what is it I do that nobody can replace me? And remember, a job can be replaced, a title can be replaced, but you, nobody can replace you. So what is it that in you that cannot be replaced ever? And they can remember this and not be afraid to ask what you deserve for it. So we talked about privacy and we talked about simplicity. And just a few days ago, I noticed that Yo-Yo Ma, the greatest cellist in the world, the Japanese-American cellist, he's recording every day playing Bach solo from his study at home, and no extra cameras or microphones, just a very simple iPhone recording with his slippers. And you watch him in his studies, and his slippers, and his jeans, and the raw sound that he can produce with no elements, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful. So it's really about simplicity and modesty and honesty and something from one-to-one, not big events, intimacy. It's really the age of intimacy. And I think part of us is really afraid to be fragile and to show our inner world or our inner family or to talk about private things. But I think this is an era to really understand that the new value now that people will appreciate is how much are we sharing and mixing our professional and personal life, because we are now expected to do so. And it's very scary because we play within ourselves. Is it appropriate? Maybe it's not appropriate. Am I allowed? Is it too much? Is it not too much? And actually, remember this, people who put this green background, that you can do in Zoom, you can do backgrounds. I see nowadays that they get lots of criticism. And I was in a few Zooms nowadays, and people ask, could you please stop that background? Can we actually see where you're talking from us from? And I loved it. It means that people are feeling allowed, they're feeling all right to actually ask you to open the space, to show where you are. It's beautiful. So just to continue and to share with you, we have another 5 minutes before I'd love to bring Gemma Greaves online again. But another something beautiful that I really notice nowadays, that we have to understand that we are in a speeding digital era. So now the digital side is really enforced on us. And soon, if I have a conference in Japan, I will have a choice not just to take a plane and go and take a hotel in Japan and be there. I could actually sit at home and see and watch and participate in the conference from Zoom. So Zoom is starting to be not a default, but a choice. And this is a huge change. So if until 2 months ago it was something we don't really want, but we have to because there is no choice, we can't go out, it will soon become something that we choose to participate in. And this is a huge change. Another big change that I think is maybe number one from all changes, that until today, you felt that research companies are one, because it's probably academic and something that is not connected to business. And if we're in the marketing business and we are in the big firms, we are really doing the right things. And nowadays we realize it doesn't work like this, that the research and the business are going now together. The companies that will invest in research more and more will be the companies that anticipate problems and don't not just solve problems. And I think this is the main trend now. You don't just solve problems, you anticipate problems, you're prepared to them more. It's all about preparation. It's all about understanding that the world is not going to be the same, and we have to be more prepared, and we have to anticipate the failures and difficulties that are still in hands to come. And if we research more in our place, in our discipline, we are going to be more prepared and more ready. And it's really not about doing one thing. I think it's really about doing both things. People often ask me, are you a pianist or are you an innovation mentor for companies? And I said, I'm this and this together. And sometimes people are afraid to understand it. How is it possible that one person does two big careers? And I think you can do two things at one time. You can do the personal and the private and the professional, and you can do the marketing and the research at the same time. The world is about interdisciplinary. It's not about just a niche of business anymore. And the more you know, and the more you're engaged, and the more you open up, you feel more secured. So if I can do jazz, and I can do improvisation, and I can do classical, and I can also lecture, and I can also do different things, that I'm more, I would say I'll be more, not just convinced in my personal mark, but more secured. And just that I want to show you something nice, I just bought that special equipment. I hope you can see it all. It cost me quite a bit of money, but I love it. It enables me to actually do the Zoom in much better quality, and that you hear my music, that it's not distorted. Because when I started to do the Zoom, people said to me, oh, you speak great, but the playing is awful. It sounds so distorted, we can't hear it. So I hope you didn't hear it distorted, because we had this special Zoom equipment that really makes it completely different. And I really hope to get your feedback about it. Was it all right with the sound of the piano, or was it dissonance and not so nice? It's really important for me to get your vibes and feedbacks. The last one, and before I finish, is not just the digital and the research and the privacy and the simplicity, but it's actually something very sad. It's that people are less wanting to commit. The new post-corona time is about no commitment. People don't want to commit to anything. So if I have 9,000 people who subscribe to my concert series, for example, I have to be smart and realize, Orit, it's not going to continue. You have to be ready for a new time where people are not going to buy subscriptions for 10 concerts a year. They don't want to, because they don't know what will happen to their money or what will happen to their health in 6 months' time. So I have to be smart and prepared now to adjust myself, to sell something different that it will allow me to continue my message. I don't want to change myself. I don't want to reinvent myself. I just want to listen to the new values that people need from me, and to just change the attitude and platform of how I do what I do, not what I do. I love what I do. I don't want to change the style and what I do and the how. I would just want to change the platform. So the more I offer people my services in different platforms or in different securities, That's something much different. So I actually decided not to give any subscription anymore, and people will just go and buy tickets for an event, and I will create the traffic in different ways, but I'm not going to sell subscription. And this is actually completely opposite thinking than I'm used to it. And I'm also in a challenge. So don't think that I'm not in a challenge. I myself coping with lots of changes, and I think it's great because it's a journey. And it's really about the journey. And I just want to end and say, music is about the journey. You never finish to practice. You know, it's always, people ask me, you practice after 40 years of playing? Yes, I practice after 40 years of playing. You can't go in and play pieces like this Fantasie Impromptu. Play this without practicing every day. And practice is really reminding you to stay humble, to stay in shape, to realize that it's never-ending story. It's always evolving story. It's always evolving journey. And I think my playing is giving me the strength to remember that we are in still a long way to go. And I have to be careful not to feel too good about anything, not about my playing, not about my way, and to really be on the edge. It's really putting you on the edge. So I want to conclude and say this was a great 45 minutes together, and I want to do more. And I hope I gave you some of my feelings and passion and love and the why we do what we do. What are the values? What is really connecting us is authenticity and sounds of our story. It's not the story we're doing, it's the music behind our stories. So have great music for your business. The music is here. Thank you so much. I want to thank Linda and Kaylee and Gemma, and I bring now the video to you to conclude the session, and please feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. People are asking for an encore, Orit. So I'm wondering if just to finish off at the end, we could do just one last piece where we can actually see your hands, because a few people have been saying, we want to see your hands. So if we could do that, that would be amazing. Yes. But there was a comment, it wasn't actually a question, but it really touched my heart, that was in the chat, that I just wanted to pick up on and ask your advice on. So move your camera so I can see you just for this bit, so we can see your face now, because you're cut off.
Yes.
No, just move your camera so we can see you, and then we can go back to the plane. Amazing, thank you. I think it was Gail who said her daughter was in a public speaking competition and she forgot one word, and through that, so what you said about your mind going blank, which is all of our fears when we're on stage, but it's caused her to have panic attacks, and she's too nervous now to go back on stage. So I just wanted to pick up on it because I wanted to find out your advice for how to cope with that, because we were saying, the tools that she could have as a young lady learning, that means that it would help in the next time, and all of us, quite frankly.
This is so important question. First of all, to do public speaking at such a young age, it's in itself an amazing act. We have to remind this beautiful daughter that she's doing something of the real adult world. Number two, she needs to know that also the big experienced ones are also making mistakes all the time. And it's not that we play perfectly. We just know how to blare it and to go on and move on without anyone noticing too much. But it's not about avoiding mistakes. It's about how to cope better with mistakes. So if she hears more failure stories, she will be in an amazing place, because it's not about our successes, it's about our failure stories. So I would really recommend that the mother will share some of her own failures.
I love that. I really hope that you have that recorded, Gail, because that was incredible advice, and I would recommend you show that to your lovely daughter. And if you don't, we have it recorded, so we'll send it to you. Thank you so much. We've got another question. I know that there's so many questions coming in, Orit. The feedback, the feedback's always good in these sessions, but it's particularly fantastic. People are, amazing, incredible, beautiful, wonderful. So I think you've genuinely provided food for the soul, music for the soul, and incredibly grateful to you. I'm just going to turn to these questions, and then we'd love to finish with us seeing your hands and that final encore, and then I will wrap up the session as always. So what happens when you blank? So it's a similar question. So I think this is so interesting that this is the thing that we're zoning in on. You mentioned you have to train for when you blank. So what happens when you blank? What do you do? What resources you access? So I guess it's what you said about, you know, every time you learn.
I think being able to improvise is really giving me the insurance that no matter what happens, and they happens, I am secured. So it's really a more state of mind to think, okay, even if I don't have computers now, because so many times we go, not about piano, but we go to give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and the electricity goes off, the computer goes off. It happens to everyone. And if you can actually ask yourself, can I do the presentation without my computer, without my presentation? Can I just convey my message just playfully alone, without any tools? Then you're secured. Then you're willing to be ready, not 100%, always be not 100% ready, but 300% ready. So the way we practice it, and I'll teach you something very crazy, I actually put headphones with some Beatles on, and I play Beethoven. So it's interesting because I force myself to listen to X and to play Y. And if I manage to do it, it means that my memory is not just the hearing, but also the hands memory. It's beautiful. So you have to make sure that you're ready in 300%, but still, even if mistakes happen, and they will happen, we're not afraid of them. We can laugh at them. We can talk about them. Sometimes I open a lecture about the failure of the week. And people actually love when you're fragile. So don't be afraid to show fragility. I think this is an era of people who wanting to know not just your home and not just your personal life and not just to see you in sleepers, but to actually see you in failures, to share failures. They don't want to see you failing. Some of them do, but not in general. But if you can just share some of the bad moments that you had. So I think this is great.
See your true self.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah, no, you see, I think we always say at the Marketing Society, it's something Ruby Wax said at one of our events, it's okay not to be okay. And actually it's excellent to be able to show your true self. And COVID has really helped us open that out. Like you say, we're seeing your home right now. You know, until this point, we've seen you on stage, and that makes such a difference. So it's wonderful. Vulnerable is an incredible skill and trait in leadership for sure. And you show that every time. And I loved what you said about being humble and practicing. And you're not, you know, every day that story is evolving. And it's so important, you know, in terms of learning and listening and growing. Thank you so much. Well, I'm really aware we're running out of time, and I don't want to get in the way of your music. So if you wouldn't mind playing a piece and letting us see your hands, that would be amazing. So much. Thank you very really much. Moved. That was amazing. And we'll wrap up just at the end as well.
Sure. I'm really moved because there's something very special here, doing art and doing also, you know, work on innovation. So we really mix the two. And please write to me, everyone. You can find me in oritwolf.com. Orit Wolf everywhere, really, and I'd love to hear from you. So for me, it's important, the continuous engagement, and I'd love to finish with Chopin, the one I played for you now, but I'll just have a special camera on the hand, so you can actually see the ends. But I realize that if you don't see my face, it's less powerful. So you will have to miss one of this. And thanks so much, and bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Orit. clapping for everyone else, but I know there is a big standing ovation happening. Really, that is, someone just summed it up perfectly. This has been amazing. It's really lifted their mood. So thank you.
Thank you,
That really
Gemma.
was a treat, and we're so honoured that you carry on coming back to the Marketing Society, which is really lovely. And our community welcomes you always. Lovely. So so thank you, everybody. And sorry, Orit.
No, I'm saying that I already feel I'm part of a family here. It's a beautiful community, and the fact that it's a worldwide now, the Marketing Society is not just in England and the UK, but rather in so many other countries that are joining us right now. It's special. It's very powerful.
Thank you. We're very proud of it, and as we continue to grow, and I'm looking forward to handing over to an incredible successor at the end of this month as well, which is really exciting. So I've just realised actually you are my last Keep Calm. So since we created this series,
Wow.
and we're so proud of it, you're my last one. So couldn't think of a better person, and it has been an incredible series so far. So as always, we would really love your feedback. I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay, but the feedback little thing is coming up right now. So please give us your feedback. It's the only way that we can continue to deliver value to our members, which is our #1 priority, as you all know. And we've got lots more coming up as well. Tomorrow, we have our very own Paul Graham taking part in a session that's delivered from our Scotland hub, which is all around an unhold bars conversation, and we're to really get under the skin of the brilliant marketeer that is Paul Graham. He's currently Marketing and Communications Director at Moet Hennessy. And we're about to look at how we can get some really cool champagne tastings with him as well. So we're very excited about that. And then next Tuesday, our 9th of June at 2 p.m. British Summer Time, we'll be talking to Landor's Global Chief Strategy Officer, Thomas Ordell, who's going to share strategy on how brands can stay relevant, reinvent themselves. So much of what Orit's been talking about, but in a slightly different way, and perhaps without the piano. And then on Wednesday, I'm particularly excited about this one. I have the pleasure of hosting a session which is largely coming live from our Dubai hub, apart from me in Twickenham, with none other than Lord Seb Coe, who's chairman of CSM Sports and Entertainment. So we're going to get to hear from him and some other fantastic people, including Keith Pelly, who's CEO of European Tour, and a brilliant lady who features lots in our programme, Ellie Torrey-Norman from Formula One. So we've got lots coming up for you to enjoy. Keep talking to us, keep telling us what you like, what you don't like, and we'll keep delivering and hopefully keeping you inspired, motivated, and the well-being your well-being at our forefront. So all that's left for me to say is thank you again, Orit. You are marvelous. You really are. You're incredible. It's been a pleasure, and for all of you to stay safe. Even. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you, Gemma.